Hey everybody, it's Cathy and welcome to Cathy Over 50, and today we're talking about 5 healthy weight loss tips for women over 50, plus you're going to want to bookmark this healthy chicken recipe. If you're new here, I am Cathy, I'm 55 years old, and I am on a 50-pound weight loss journey. And I have been very transparent with my weight loss journey, and this year I have hit more than a few road bumps, so I thought today we're just going to sit back, we're going to have a conversation, and we're going to talk about how I'm approaching my weight loss from here on. I have been using Weight Watchers and I'm going to be trying something different, and I want to explain and get into that in a bit. But if you're not interested in listening about my journey and my 5 healthy weight loss tips for women over 50, I will put a timestamp for the healthy chicken recipe towards the end of the video. You can use this recipe in so many different ways. You can eat it just by itself, rice and some vegetables. It's also great to cook a few ahead, have in the fridge. You can use them in pasta, salads, soup, wraps, anything. It's really a healthy, versatile chicken recipe, and I thought I'd share it with you today. And I did record that portion of the video probably about 4 months ago, so if I look a little different, that's why. So I would just like to tell you a little bit about my background, about my weight issues, and then we're going to dive into Weight Watchers and why I've decided to try something different at this point. So as I said, I'm 55 years old. I have had a weight issue my entire life. I was chubby as a child. My mom used to love to tell me that out of her 5 kids, I was the biggest when I was born. And I believe as a child, I really developed an addiction to sugar and desserts. And I'm not dissing anybody. I'm not dissing my mother. But back then, we were often rewarded with treats, sugary treats, desserts, and I feel that is where I really developed my sweet tooth. And it's really been a struggle for me to try and break that habit, and especially in the last couple of years. I don't know if it has to do with hormones or just because I've been going through a lot of stress with aging parents and them passing away, but my sugar addiction has really kicked it up a notch, and I really have to get control of it. Growing up, we didn't understand the damage that sugar could do. Kind of like when we were young, we didn't wear sunscreen because back then nobody knew about the dangers of the sun and the UV rays like we know today. So when you know better, you do better. And now that I know better, I'm really trying to do better, because at 55 years old, my body's getting to be like an old model car, and at one of these days I feel like, a tire's gonna blow or something. And that is really scary to me, because as someone that watched my mom suffer with kidney dialysis 3 times a week for the last 7 years of her life, I do not want to get a chronic condition like kidney disease or diabetes or high blood pressure. I've really, I think, gotten a wake-up call since turning 55, and I really honestly want to make the change. But I've wanted to make the change for a while, but there was just always, I felt like something wasn't clicking, and it was difficult. Like I could lose 5 pounds, but then I put 7 on. And it's so frustrating, as many of you can relate to. And as somebody that has a hypothyroid problem, sometimes your thyroid can get out of whack, and then your medication needs to be tweaked. And, it may be a little more difficult to lose weight, but you can still lose weight. And I am guilty of being my own worst enemy, because whenever I was younger, I could lose 5 pounds a week. Well, now it might take me a month to lose the 5 pounds, and then I'll beat myself up with negative self-talk, and then I just blow it, and then I go on a binge with burgers and sugar. It's a struggle, and I'm being 100% honest here because I know that some of you can relate to that. So the last few years have been very stressful, more stressful than normal for me, because my dad died, and then I had to take care of my mom, and eventually, this year, she, had a few bad episodes, and she ended up passing away at the end of March. And I've had a difficult time dealing, with her being ill, and also I'm having a difficult time with her passing. I often will make really bad decisions. I don't eat a lot in a day, but what I do eat is crap. I use drive-thrus as my therapy. I don't know what it is, but it's almost like I go on autopilot and I'll eat, drive-through junk. I'll eat like highly processed burgers and fries. I know it's not good for me, but in that moment, it's kind of just, I don't care. It's like maybe I'm pushing my emotions down. And then in that moment, you know, I kind of beat myself up because I know that it's not a healthy choice, but at the same time, I don't know how to stop. Does that make sense? And I really dislike it when people will say to somebody that's overweight, well, just don't eat as much. Or, you know, just make better choices. We know what we have to do, but that's like telling a drug addict, well, just don't do drugs. Like, you have to get to the underlying problem. I have figured out in the last year or so that I really do soothe myself with food, and I've also gotten into the habit of snacking at night, which I absolutely never used to do. Like, I used to would maybe snack in the afternoon, and by snack mean eat candy. Well, lately it's like, you know, eating chips. And where is this coming from? I know some of it is hormonal. I still have not went through menopause, but I know a lot of it has to do with my emotional eating. I have been following Weight Watchers, and I am not dissing Weight Watchers because I did lose weight on Weight Watchers before. My opinion is Weight Watchers works. It's a great program. It teaches you about a healthy lifestyle. They have adapted their new program, you know, teaches you about the dangers of sugar, and you are penalized for sugary foods. However, after consulting with my doctor, I have decided right now to put Weight Watchers on pause. That is not to say that I will not resume Weight Watchers in the future, and you know, I'll probably still continue to share Weight Watchers recipes because I feel it is a tool in the toolbox that will help you to achieve weight loss if you use it. I myself am not interested in carnivore Atkins or starving myself or anything else. I have to find something that works for me, something that is sustainable, something that I will be happy doing. I think it was last November I had to see my doctor for my yearly. He ordered a bunch of blood work. We were going over the blood work, and he brought up on the computer this chart he had for me for the last 10 years. And I was a bit alarmed when I saw the numbers because it is the A1C test, which is a test that measures your blood sugar levels over 3 months. And mine was slowly rising, and I was getting close to the, you know, diabetic number. I think it's like 6.5. He kind of put the bug in my ear that I had to make some healthy choices. And I already knew that, but for whatever reason, I just could not connect the dots. So he said, would you be interested in this healthy nutrition course that the clinic was offering for 8 weeks? And I said yes. So once a week, we met on Zoom for 2 hours a week for 8 weeks, and it was nutritionist led, and she kind of educated us on today's standards of what is healthy and what isn't. And I have to tell you, as somebody that grew up in the 70s and 80s, we followed the Canada's Food Guide, where, you know, the largest portion was supposed to come, I think, from the grain section. But now today it's opposite because we need good carbs, but, you know, white, sugary, hamburger buns, bread, cookies, donuts, those things are not healthy. So it's really hard to unlearn like 50 years of what I thought I knew about nutrition. So this course was really a godsend. It was a lifesaver. So I emailed a nutritionist and said, would it be possible for us to meet one-on-one? And she said, absolutely. So I had to wait about 6 weeks before I could get in, and we met. I think we met maybe the week after my mom passed. I was still kind of like in a daze, kind of numb. So we kind of set up a plan, and then the idea was I was going to meet back again in 6 weeks. Well, I did meet her last week, and I was embarrassed, and I told her, you know, if you don't want to work with me, I understand. I'm embarrassed to tell you I did not implement any one of the suggestions you made, and I explained that I had lost a sister-in-law at the end of January. Then mom's health really deteriorated, and I lost my mom the end of March. And I'm really having difficulty with the grieving process. And she said, I'm not disappointed in you. You're here. Like, don't ever feel that's a disappointment. Like, the journey is not like straight. The journey a lot of the times is down in the ditch, halfway back up, back in the ditch, and then you find your way to the road. I feel that sometimes We look at other people and we think, my goodness, they've lost a lot of weight, and why can't I be as good as them, or why can't I follow a program like they can? But there's a lot of different factors that you have to factor in that affects your weight loss. So back in November, when I met with my doctor, he said, well, you really have to do something, try and lose some weight. So I said, fine, give me 6 months. Let's do the blood work again and we'll meet again. Honest to goodness, it was every intention I had in my body. I wanted to lose weight. I certainly don't want to end up with diabetes. And well, with everything that happened, I didn't do anything. And again, I went to my doctor, and before he even said anything, I said, look, doc, I'm sorry. I'm ashamed. I'm having a hard time here. Like, I'm struggling. He was very understanding, and like, he wasn't judgmental or critical. He totally understood. Grief is like a journey for everybody. Everybody's journey is different. But he was very gentle and said, well, you're working with a nutritionist. Yes. So he said, well, you don't have to be perfect. Just, make 1 or 2 changes, and you don't have to lose like 5 or 10 pounds the first month. Like, just as long as you make healthy choices and keep working at the healthy choices, eventually it's going to show up. So I'm so thankful that I have such a supportive doctor and this dietitian. But again, he showed me on the graph, not to shame me, but just to make me aware. He said, like, historically, over the last 10 years, my A1C test has been on the high side, but they do some other things in the calculation, like my cholesterol's fine, blood pressure's fine. But he said, you're in the pre-diabetes stage, but it doesn't mean like it's gonna happen tomorrow. It could be like 2 years from now, but just keep it up here. You're getting close. And he said, working with a dietitian and making the healthy choices that we talk about should help. And then he even showed on the graph, like, we're 5 years ago where we had the same discussion, but my number wasn't that as high as it is today, that he said you did make healthy choices in your life and your number went down to below 6. It was actually, I think, 5.8. I think 6.5 in Canada is the number where you're considered a diabetic. So I am painfully aware that I am on a slippery slope, and I don't want to get diabetes. It terrifies me. So I am really going to make a conscious effort. I have to, for my own health. And I wanted to put that out there today because I want to share it with you. And I'm going to share what I've learned at the dietitian, because I think what she's proposing is a lifestyle that I can sustain. I don't have to be perfect 100% of the time. I thought I would share what I learned with her in case, it might help some of you. So hopefully by meeting with a dietitian, right now we're going to meet again in 6 weeks. She gives me 3 steps to work on in the 6 weeks, and hopefully that helps me to reset to a healthy lifestyle. So we talked about goals, and the first goal I want to talk about is exercise. And I thought, okay, well, I'm just going to walk 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week, and that's how it's going to be. It's not that easy. It was when I was 25, 30, not at 55. Most days I get up, I'm still half asleep because I haven't had a good night's sleep because I've had hot flashes, night sweats. Like, I'm just a light sleeper, and if I don't get my sleep, I wake up very tired and I have low energy. I seem to anymore perk up like at 8, 9 o'clock at night. So I'm certainly not going to start exercising before bed. So what she recommended was, don't set yourself up for failure. Whenever I say I'm going to walk 30 minutes a day, every day, it's failure. I'm not going to go from couch potato to marathon walker. So what she has proposed is, what can I do in a day that I could check off the list that is attainable? Just one thing. It doesn't have to be all 3 things. She said, could you walk for 15 minutes a day 3 times a week? And I said, yes, that's attainable. I have a treadmill. It's too hot now to walk outside during the day. 15 minutes, I can tolerate 15 minutes. Doesn't even have to be 15 minutes altogether. It could be 5 minutes here, 5 minutes there, as long as you get to 15 minutes in a day. So I thought, yeah, that's attainable. And she said, with time, you may go for a walk, and you think, and that day you decide, you know what? I feel like I could go for 5 or 10 more minutes. And that's how it builds on each other. So I'm not setting out that I have to be perfect and walk 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week. So I'm starting with baby steps. And I really do think that if I can change my way of thinking, I will be successful. She gave me 5 things that, I can try and work on. But she said, you're having a bad day, just aim for 1. You don't worry about all 5. So the second thing she noted was that I'm not eating enough protein. And I guess she's right. I really don't eat a lot of protein. I eat a lot of really bad carbs. We need carbs. We need good carbs. I'm talking about like sugary carbs like candy, donuts, white bread, things that we know already that aren't good for us. So she wants me to up my protein, and she said the trick is have protein at every meal and even have 2 snacks throughout the day with a little bit of protein. The protein will keep me feeling full and satisfied, and then my blood sugar won't be all over the place. It'll just be kind of steady, and that way I won't get those cravings for sugary stuff. I know it's not going to be easy because I admit I'm a sugar addict. I like candy, drive-through food, and those things are things that I have to learn to, lose from my life. Can I just lose them cold turkey? Probably not. I know myself. If you can, that's great, but you have to develop a plan that works best for you. Here are the 5 things that she is proposing. So up my protein with every meal. For breakfast, Greek yogurt, I eat that now for my breakfast with berries and a little bit of granola. For lunch, I could have like a salad with chicken, or for dinner I could have like chicken with some brown rice and vegetables. And another thing she showed me was take a dinner plate and divide it in half, and then one of the halves divide it in half. So you have a half and 2 quarters. So in the top quarter, you would use that as your protein. And the bottom would be good refined carbs like quinoa, brown rice. There's other things. I can't think of them right now. And then on the other half of the plate, that should all be vegetables like broccoli, cauliflower, any kind of a vegetable. It could be a salad. So even if you're making a salad, just kind of keep that in mind. So a quarter of the plate is roughly the size of my palm. So if I was making a salad, I'd want like a chicken breast that big. And the same thing if I was going to put like some quinoa in the salad, probably a little less than how big my hand is. So that's how you can introduce this way of thinking, not just eating, like chicken, rice, and broccoli. It's how you can like think of how much protein you need, say if you're eating stew or a salad. So I think this is going to be very helpful. So I have to remember, okay, like the majority of my plate should be vegetables, but protein is so important too, so keep the 2 together. The next thing was the walking 15 minutes a day 3 times a week. The third thing was water. I don't have a problem with water. I'm a huge water drinker. I drink 2 to 3 liters of water a day, so thankfully I'm doing that right. And then the 2 other things I really have never done. I just prefer to fly by the seat of my pants, and she said the next one is a big one, and it is meal planning. She said to take 10 minutes a week, probably the day before you do groceries, and just figure out 2 meals that you want to plan for the week. Just maybe start with 1 if that's all you can do. And then plan to have leftovers, and then that takes away, it's lunchtime and you're like, well, what are we going to eat today? Instead of like, getting junk from the drive-thru, you can have the healthy leftovers. And I think that is really going to help, but I just need to put it into action. And then the last thing she touched on was meal prepping, and this is something I have never done because I always worked from home. I've never really put much thought or effort into it, but I will start doing it, and I'll probably start with the chicken breast recipe that I'm sharing at the end of this video. Maybe cook a few extra ones, and then I'll have them in the fridge. And you can buy salad now already in a bag, or you can buy like arugula or lettuce already in those plastic containers. So it's going to be really easy to throw some lettuce in a bowl, some chicken in a bowl, a little bit of dressing, and there I have a healthy lunch. Another thing I can do is maybe cut up some vegetables and just get some ranch dip, or even use plain Greek yogurt with some onion soup mix and make a dip. So I think that these are all really attainable goals that I can, work my way up to. Am I going to be perfect and do all 5 in the next 6 weeks? Probably not. But if I do 2 of them, you know, it'll be a really good thing. And I think as I start to keep doing it, it'll become a habit. It takes, what, 6 to 8 weeks for something to become a habit. And I think as I start to see the weight come off, I will also feel invigorated and want to continue. So the plan is I'm meeting up with the dietitian again, I think somewhere around the end of July. So what I'm going to do is at the end of July, I will do an update video here, and we'll talk about how my 6 weeks went, and hopefully I'll have weight loss to share with you. You know, I could have stayed on Weight Watchers and, you know, still work with the dietitian, but I just feel that I have to just forget the whole diet culture and just concentrate on what I'm learning with the nutritionist. Find out for myself, am I going to lose weight on this? Because it's really difficult for me to believe, after being somebody that struggled with her weight all of her life, that just by eating using this plate method, that am I really going to be successful? I'm being honest, I'm kind of doubtful, but I think that is because my brain has been brainwashed and branded to think that I can only be successful if I'm counting calories or counting points or following some sort of a restrictive plan. Obviously, I cannot continue eating like jelly beans and, you know, potato chips. But if I want to have some potato chips, I can go to the chip container and see how much a serving is, and then, you know, maybe have 1 serving instead of eating the whole bag. So it's going to be a process. I hope that you will follow me and join me with it, and I hope that you'll find some information in these videos helpful that you can apply to your life. So thank you for your time. Thanks for sticking around. And if you want to catch up on my weight loss journey, I will link my Weight Watchers playlist here on the screen, and you can go watch more videos. Have a great day. Bye. So these are some very big chicken breasts. I really recommend, if you have a butcher nearby, buy your chicken breasts from a butcher. They just taste so fresh, and they're so juicy and tender, and there is quite a difference in taste from buying from a butcher and buying at a grocery store. So I'm gonna season these chicken breasts up, and the first thing that I do, I have thawed them out overnight in the fridge. I bought this handy little spritzer, and I have it filled with avocado oil. You could also use olive oil. I just spritz each breast with a couple of squirts. There's barely any oil on it, but it just helps with the seasoning. And then I'm just gonna put a little bit of sea salt on them, a little bit of ground pepper, and then I just have some Italian seasoning that I put on. So then I'm just gonna flip every breast over. I just line a cookie tray. When I have this much chicken to cook, it just makes cleanup so much easier. And then I would just repeat everything on this side. I like to give it a lot of the Italian seasoning, because it really brings out the flavor. So now I'm gonna let this marinate in the fridge for about 4 hours before I cook it, and I'll show it to you before I put it in the oven. So I'm about to put the chicken in the oven. It's been marinating in the fridge. I just leave it uncovered like that. It's not near anything. You want to be very careful of that because you don't want to contaminate any of your other food because of the chicken juice. But I'm gonna cook it in the oven at 350, and I will check after 45 minutes because these are very thick chicken breasts, so it takes a little bit longer for them to cook, and I'll show you whenever they come out of the oven how I check to make sure that the chicken is fully cooked. So I cooked the chicken for 50 minutes, and I'm just about to check it, but it looks and it smells like it's done. I suggest having this in your kitchen. You want to make sure that your chicken is always 165 degrees Fahrenheit. It needs to be that minimum to be done. You want to make sure you go like in the middle. So I'm gonna poke this breast because it is the thickest, It's telling me it's at 164, but I'm pretty sure it's done. I'll just cut it in the middle just to show you, because the juices are clear. We're gonna cut this in half anyways to eat it. Do you see how the chicken is white inside? It is finished and the juices were clear. So my thermometer might be off just a little bit, but I had checked it earlier and it was at 165.